Hey chess punks, welcome back to another video. For today's video, I actually have a very nice game of Nona Gaprindashvili, and this game is absolutely brilliant. So to tell you about Gaprindashvili, she is actually a Georgian grandmaster and was actually the first woman to get the title of grandmaster from FIDE. So she is known for the absolute crazy attacking style and is responsible for many Tal-like games and is able to absolutely crush her opponents by her attacking chess. So this game is actually from 1979 and a very nice game. Nona Gaprindashvili actually used to play very actively in open tournaments and used to face off against men all the time. And actually, she has also won the Hastings Challengers tournament. So let's see how this game went for her. So this game is from the 1979 Vaikan Z tournament and she is facing off against GM Juraj Nikolac, who is from Croatia, and he is also a very strong player himself. So let's get started with the game. So we have e4 from Gaprindashvili, and Juraj actually chooses to go with the Caro-Kann in this position with his move of c6, and now we have d4, that is the usual move against the Caro-Kann, taking the full center, and we have d5 from Juraj. And now Gaprindashvili actually goes for this move of knight to d7. Not so common move. Most common move are either advance or to take with your pawn and go into the exchange French. But Gaprindashvili actually plays this move of knight to d2 and asks Julas to either take or maybe do something else. But Nikolac actually decides to take here, and we have knight takes and bishop to f5 from Nikolac. He is now attacking the knight, as you can see, with his bishop. So Gaprindashvili just moves her knight, and you can see that the knight is now attacking the bishop. So bishop just retreats here, and we now have already a clear plan from white that is there, that she wants to attack with her pawn that is there on the h file, that such that this pawn, if it gets here and later on here, then already it can create some weaknesses in the black's camp. And if this king can, this king then castles on this side, already you have a very nice attack that is ready for you. So of course Julas sees that and he plays this move of g6, now making room for his bishop to hide on the h7 square, and we have h5 from Gaprindashvili. So bishop decides to retreat to the h7 square, and we have knight to f3. So already you can see that what type of player Gaprindashvili is. She wants to just attack her opponent and win the game as quickly as possible. So we have knight to d7 and bishop to d3 from Gaprindashvili. Now she wants to exchange this very good bishop that white has. So black decides to actually take here, and after queen takes we have e6 from Nikolac. Now what he wants to do is probably get his bishop out and then get his knight out so that he can castle. Also he is probably threatening to give this check here in the future if somehow that is beneficial to him. So right now we have bishop to f4 and queen to a5 from Nikolac. Now I actually find this move very unusual, but it is actually one of the top moves that is played in this position. But while first time looking at the game, I thought that why are you making your queen go on the queen side, because later on you will see that this king sort of becomes isolated on the king side. But the idea with this move of a5 is queen to a5 is that you are now forcing white to either play this move of c3 or either come back with his bishop, wherein I can then let's say you come back with your bishop here, then I can already play a move like b4, and you have to anyway then play c3. And the main idea is that you are now not allowing white to castle on the long side, because then your pawn would be just then hanging. If let's say if you play in this position c3, and then if you want to castle on the long side, that is not possible because this pawn simply hangs. So that is the basic idea, because let's say if you decide to play a move like knight to f6 in this position, then white is already very well with long castle, and you can already see that this move of h5 is now very handy for white, because he can you can launch an attack on the king side with the advanced h pawn. So that is the basic idea. After playing this move of queen to a5, you are now basically not allowing white to castle on the queen side, and he would have to castle on the king side where he has already pushed the pawns. So we have c3 from Gaprindashvili, she plays the normal looking move, and we have knight to f6 finally, now preparing bishop to e7 and then castles. So we now have a4, a5, a4 from Gaprindashvili. She wants to maybe take some space on the queen side as well. She already had some space on the king side. If you can now get some space on the queen side, that is already good for you. So she is right now playing on both sides of the board, and seeing where black decides to castle, she will probably get her play from that side. So right now you can see that the king is in the center, so she is taking full caution that she has control on both sides of the board. So now we have this move of c5 from Nikolac. The idea with this move of c5 is that now you are attacking the center. Let's say if white just decides to take in this position, then you can already get your bishop out, and it helps you to develop your pieces. So of course we don't have takes from Gaprindashvili. Instead she goes with the move castle, because now she could no longer castle on this side, so she had to castle on the king side. And we have rook to c8 clearly with the idea of pushing c4. So we have rook to e1. All you should do now is get your pieces into the attack, and this rook is currently nicely aligning with this king, and we have this move c4 from Nikolac, and queen decides to just retreat here because it was attack. Now we finally have this move of bishop to e7. You can see that blacks clearly the idea is to castle on the king side, because the king can no longer stay in the center, because already you can see that these pieces are nicely looking at all the weak square that are there near the king. So we now firstly have this move of knight to e5 from Gaprindashvili. You can see that now she's asking either to take, wherein after let's say knight takes and bishop takes, you can already see that there will be a lot of pressure along these lines, and it will be difficult for black to survive that position long against a very great attacking player like Gaprindashvili. So black actually just decides to castle in this position, and this position is now a very critical position. It was actually better to just take here, and after bishop takes maybe then castle and play like that, but now you can see that you have allowed this knight to survive on the e5 square, and it is actually going to become a very monster knight on the e5 that is there. So now some normal looking moves for players like us maybe are to play like e3 and then maybe double, or like get this bishop to some, or get this knight to some nice squares, or maybe even push something like b3. But Gaprindashvili in this position actually understands that all these pieces are not doing that great job of defending the king, so she absolutely plays this very nice move of knight to f5. She is aware of all the tactics in the position, because you can see that if you decide to now take the knight, I can just take back here, and after knight takes, your bishop at the end is hanging, and the material is already equal, and I am already threatening to double my rooks on the e file. And already moves like this are not that great, because your knight at the end is just hanging. So after you decide to protect your knight, I'll just double on the e file and gain complete control of the e file. So Nikolac saw all of that, and he did not want to take on the f5 with his pawn, but he instead decided to play this move of rook to e8. Now this move of rook to e8 I think is been played very casually, because Nikolac actually fails to understand the true idea with this move of knight to f5. The true idea is actually not to take this bishop, but to brutally attack this king that is very weak on the king side, with all these pieces looking at the king side. So Nikolac actually plays this move of rook to e8, and you can already see that this pawn that is there, the f7 pawn, now becomes a sort of weak pawn, because it is being defended by the king, and in future a lot of tactics are going to come around that. So this move rook to e8 that is there is actually now undefending that pawn, and that's going to become a very important case in the future, because now Gaprindashvili just decides to take with her knight, and you can already see that this is now a very monstrous knight. It is looking to take here, then it is also threatening, the bishop is threatening to take here, the queen is threatening to just come in. So you have to actually take in this position, and you cannot just ignore that knight that is there on the g7 square. So Nikolac decides to take here, and for Gaprindashvili, it is not enough to sacrifice just one piece. So she in this position decides to sack another piece with the move bishop takes on h6. Now in this position, Nikolac actually decides to take here. But if he wanted to survive for a bit longer maybe, then it is better to go back with a move like king to g8. It is like you can survive for a couple of moves, but this is also losing. After a move like rook to e3, you can already see that I am now threatening to give this check, and the king is already very weak. You would have to play something like takes, when after takes, if now decide to go back, that is already losing for you. After a move like rook to g3 check, you can see that this king is very weak. It cannot go to any of these squares because the queen is covering. So after you go to this square, then already after let's say I give you a check here, then you again decide to move here. Then already after a move like queen to d2, I am threatening to come in like this. It is already very scary for you. So that could have been one way to play, but that was also losing for Nikolac, as you just saw. So in this, after actually bishop takes on h6, Nikolac actually decides to anyway take here. Like if you are going to lose, why not lose with some more material? This may have been his idea, but now this just does not work, because the knight can now just take on this f7 square, and knight can just take on this f7 square, and you can see that why this defending this f7 square was important, because the knight can just take it now, and there is no rook that was defending here that is there. So now of course you can't just come back, because that would just lead to a mate after queen to g6, and after only move that is there king to f8, you can already see that a move like h6 is already very dangerous for you, threatening a mate here, and there is nothing much that you can do here. You would have to move this bishop somewhere, but where you can't move it anywhere. You can't go here, you can't go here, you can't go here, you can't go here, and if you let's say go here, then I can already take, and you can't even take back because I am just threatening to mate here. So that would be very dangerous for you. So actually Nikolac decides to take this pawn on the h5 square, because we just saw the variation that it was mating for him. And Gaprindashvili again sacks. She has already sacked one bishop, she has sacked one knight, and now she is sacking another pawn, because let's say if you now decide to take here comes this very brilliant move of queen to g6 check, and this king now is completely roasted wherever it decides to go here. Let's say it goes on the h4 square, then already after a move like king to g2, you can see that this is now unstoppable mate for you. Maybe you can try giving a bunch of checks, but after a move like let's say f3, you can see that this is no longer stoppable, and you would have to sacrifice your queen like this. So we do not have king takes, and even knight takes for like falls for the similar trick, because you can just give this check on h7, and let's say after knight blocks, you can just take the knight, and this king is getting mated very soon. So the knight also can't take. So after this move of g4, we have h4 from Gaprindashvili, and again h4 after king to h4 actually from Nikolac, not Gaprindashvili. Gaprindashvili is actually on the attack, not on the defense. So we have king to h4 from Nikolac and f3 from Gaprindashvili. Her idea is clearly to play this mate in one of queen to h2. You can see that this square is being controlled by the knight, and the king, if queen somehow manages to get to the h2 square, then the king has no squares to retreat because all the squares are covered. So in this position now, the position is actually completely lost for Nikolac, so he decides to actually sack in this position, and here maybe taking is completely fine. But another very brilliant move that Gaprindashvili managed to find in this position was rook to e4. You can already see that I am now pinning your knight and already threatening rook to queen to h2 mate. So you would have to play something like king to h5, but that is also not that great, because I can just take here, and now this mate is literally unstoppable. You can try giving some checks to me, you can like play queen to f5 and all, but that just loses to this mate, and that is completely lost for you. So actually after this move of rook to e4, Nikolac actually decided to resign here, and Gaprindashvili was able to crush her GM opponent in just 24 moves. And it's not every day that you see a 2500 level grandmaster getting crushed in just 25 moves or 24 moves. And this was a very nice miniature that Nona Gaprindashvili managed to pull off against her opponent. Just a very quick idea that I want to show you guys in this position is, maybe to hold on to this position, Nikolac had to find a move like queen to d1. Already this is a retreating move and a very difficult move to find, because you can already see that now this is not that effective, because I can just take, and after, let's say you take back, I can go back to this. Okay, I can't go back there, I will have to go back to this square actually, because I can't allow this to come with a tempo. So I would have to go to the with my king to the g8 square, and you can already see that now this thing does not work, because my rook is defending the f7 pawn. So that was one way that Nikolac had to actually defend, but it's usually very difficult to defend. It is usually very like very humanly to attack, but it is very difficult to defend. So that's what exactly happened here, and we get to see the actual style of Gaprindashvili, the crazy attacking player that she is. She absolutely calculated up till the very end to the best that she could, and was actually able to triumph her opponent after this move of rook to e4, and her opponent decided to resign here because Nona Gaprindashvili just crushed him with her bone crushing attack, and he had no reply after this move of rook to e4. So I hope that was a very nice game for you as well, and you get to see how great attacking player Nona Gaprindashvili is. She also had some very nice attacking games other than this that I will cover some other time. For now, I will take your leave. Until then, bye bye.